Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Good afternoon. I am Robert Press, your host of Parrot TV, Talking Politics. With me is co-host Anthony Rivieccio. And Anthony, why don't you introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, everyone. My name is Professor Anthony Rivieccio. As everyone knows, I have 3 lives. Good morning, Mr. Dion. I am an adjunct professor for personal finance at Herbert H. Lehman College, where I'm examining final exams that are giving me more gray hair. I'm also a financial advisor for Rivieccio Financial Advisors, and I am the founder of Northwest Bronx Democrats.
And let me introduce my other co-host who has joined us, Mr. Dion Powell. Say a few words, Dion, please.
Say a few words, Dion, please. I'm Dion Powell, founder of the New York State Free-Thinking Democrats in the South Bronx and beyond, even though we're conveniently located in Morris Park. I'm also the, CEO, president, whatever, founder of nyconsultant.us.
And
County committeeman of the 79th Assembly District. Don't hold your breath there, short guy.
let me introduce myself as host. As you see, here is my official New York City Police press card. And you may know me from moderating the AOC
debacle.
Let's see. What should we say? It wasn't really Joe Crowley. It was Joe Crowley's stand.
No, let's call it the no-chair debate.
Okay, where Ms. Cortez, candidate Ocasio-Cortez, got up and said, "Oh, look, he said somebody who looks like me." And that basically was it for Joe. Okay, so I also write for the Bronx Chronicle, Parkchester Times, Co-op City News, Parent Leader. I beat up on de Blasio. I hope to be nice to new mayor Eric Adams. So, I can keep going on, but let's get on with the show. Let's go to world politics, guys. What's happening in the Ukraine? Anybody want to talk? It seems that President Biden has given a warning to Vladimir Putin of Russia about invading Ukraine. Dion, you want to say a few words about that?
Well, I would just like to say that Joe Biden, unlike Trump, he actually might cause an international incident that will get a lot of people killed and hurt, and maybe some nuclear armaments. So everybody's worried about Trump and W. Well, W's no story, but we'll see what the Democrats do with this kind of war. We just got one, but Mother Russia against Father America, we'll see.
Anthony, any comments?
I could almost mirror Dion's comments. The only difference being that I don't think Dion was born in 1982, but obviously, as we can see, how old are you, Dion?
81, and you can echo my comments. Echo.
You're 81.
1981.
He was
born in 1981. So then you were 1 year old when inflation was 12%.
14, Anthony.
Yeah,
no, not 1982.
Hockey.
My answer to your original question is we are now back in 1982. So anyone that thinks we're more safer today than 40 years ago obviously hasn't been around. I echo Dion's statement 300%.
I do agree with both of you.
That Dion doesn't know what happened in 1982 because he was only 1 year old. But we're basically at the same place.
But, things could be worse. Kamala Harris could be the president. But let's move on from here. While you're on the subject of Joe Biden's economics, well, let's go into that. Let's go to Anthony's corner on Joe Biden's economics. Give us a few words on what's happening with the economy, Anthony.
I can only echo what was announced this morning by the government.
Echo chamber.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Echo chamber.
This echo chamber is very important, Dion, simply because it means you can't get any more freebies. You know, inflation is now sadly at 8% a year, the highest it's been during a period of 40 years. So this is why Dion ain't going to get too many more freebies, even at an expensive place like Morris Park, where he visits once or twice a week. So, you know, our economy is in a lot of trouble. You know, we can debate where inflation came from. Some people say it was Joe Biden. Some people say it's the scarcity of services. Some people, like myself, believe that it's actually inherent in the sense of everybody forgot that we went from a minimum wage of $7.50 to $15 literally overnight. And it takes the economy a couple of years to sink that in. Well, once it's sunk in, of course, so did inflation.
Okay.
Well, can we take a step back and go international again? Let's talk about Trump and his war of words with Netanyahu, because Israel still loves Donald Trump, but Donald Trump doesn't like Netanyahu. He actually said F the guy on this show. I don't know if you guys read that or saw that. Donald Trump.
No, didn't do that, but all right.
There's only one person, Dion, that thinks Donald Trump is relevant. And I'm sure Bob will bring it up. And it has to do with Tish James. Tish James is the only one that believes that Donald Trump is still relevant.
With a lawsuit. But
Netanyahu is trying to run for re-election. He's trying to say he was buddies with Donald Trump because Israel loves Donald Trump when needs to be known, but Donald Trump hates Netanyahu.
All right,
guys.
What the president is trying to do is keep his name fresh, because everybody knows that he's about ready to go to jail for fraud, and he figures in his own country, where he's had a decent relationship with Donald Trump, he figures that's going to save him.
All right, we got a lot to do today, guys. There's a lot of things happening. Let's go into a thing that happened this morning. The Kathy Hochul. I don't know why I keep saying David Patterson. Maybe because they both
you have your fifth shot, booster shot.
But Kathy Hochul has announced a mandatory mask mandate. So that means, Dion, you're going to have to be wearing a mask from now on.
Actually, no, because in the Senate, it didn't pass. So guess what? Everybody was making a statement because Joe Biden, his national mandates were struck down. So let's talk about that.
Well, go back to that one, Mr. There we go. Now, here's a picture of our Bronx Borough President, Ruben Diaz Jr., and our mayor, Bill de Blasio. And this picture is from May of this year. So we're now June, July, August, September, October, November, December, 8 months later. And these guys 8 months before were wearing no mask. This is an event where there were 300 people. It was the groundbreaking for the hip hop museum here in the Bronx. Okay, so, I mean, I think that Bill de Blasio and Ruben Diaz, well, maybe Ruben's going to be his running mate when he runs for governor. That's what I think. Maybe they're talking over here. Ruben, you want to come join with me and be my running mate for lieutenant governor? You know, the feds may get me on something and you become governor, just like the previous two governors.
It sounds like, Robert, that you're suggesting that Ruben Diaz's legacy will be that he brought Omicron, and Dion Powell is sharing some of that in his drink.
That could be true. Dion, any comments on this photo?
Riviecio's a smoker and I'm a drinker. So, Bob, what's your poison?
Nothing. I'm a faithful husband. I'm an honest person, honest reporter. That's why the electeds hate me.
Is that the only reason why? Why don't you tell us why, you know, with the Omicron that we're recommending 4 boosters, assume 5 boosters, 5 boosters, 5 boosters. 5 boosters.
Well, Dion, the other way you can avoid the mask is being vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated. I know you and Anthony aren't right now.
Thank God.
Wait.
Thank God, because it seems like everybody that's vaccinated seems to be getting it quicker than the ones that aren't.
Exactly.
What do you mean? All right, wait a minute. Anthony, well, hold on, Dion. Anthony, do you mean that Senator Alessandra Biaggi, a short time after she was vaccinated, caught the COVID And she had it for about 3.5 weeks, she said. But she looks fine now. I was at the Morris Park tree lighting, and Senator Biaggi looked very good. She looked, recovered very well. But are you insinuating, though, because she got the shots, she got COVID?
No, I'm just making a suggestion the same way you are with this picture. It can imply that Ruben Diaz brought COVID into the Bronx and Alexandria Biaggi could have caught it from him.
Not well. This is an old picture. I don't think she caught it. This is 8 months ago.
Why don't you show the picture that when Rubencito said Donald Trump was a racist, someone in my group, the South Bronx Free Thinking Democrats, put the picture of Rubencito and Trump on the golf course. So show that picture and talk about how they're trying to change that golf course into a shelter. Let's talk about that.
Anthony, you have that picture? I don't have it. We'll put it up next week and talk about that. How about that?
Excuse me while I whip this out. Excuse me.
We have a lot more because Tish James was brought into the picture. Okay. And speaking of pictures of Tish James, Mr. Producer, Tish James announced that she has withdrawn from the governor's race and is running for re-election. This is a photo of Tish James. Who knows what year this is from? And any guess, Dion? You don't know your Tish James, do you?
Is that when she was public advocate going for Attorney General?
No, this is when she was going for public advocate. That's how long ago it is.
Oh, I can see the little De Blasio. I can see a little De Blasio post in the lower left-hand corner.
Right, because it was really a De Blasio James rally. And there's other pictures. And this is from the Bronx, by the way. So there'll be other pictures of this event coming up. Okay.
Can I show my picture of Rubencito? Can I show Trump and Rubencito?
Well, if you get it, we'll do it next week.
I got it right now.
Send it to the producer, and he'll take care of it. All right. Now, any comments though on Tish James' withdrawal, Dion, and running for AG only?
Well, according to my political informant statewide, the reason that had to happen is because if it didn't happen, then Zyper Shot most likely would have won the Attorney General and given another win for the progressive. So I see another one who's about to break his rubberneck. So let's go, Anthony Rivieccio. What's your theory?
Sir, I'm glad your sources are giving you that type of information. Let me tell you what my sources are telling me. We are now looking 2 to 4 years from now at the next U.S. Senator. Her plan is very simple. Her plan is that she knows she's going to be full of Donald Trump for the next 12 months. And she plans on bringing Donald Trump to his knees. And that will, of course, make Tish James look a lot better. Not for a governor position, but for a much higher position. They're talking U.S. Senator. And she believes that 2 years of banging Donald Trump's head under allegations that I don't know if they're true or not true.
Hey guys, I'm having problems here with the connection. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Sammy. So why don't you join in on the conversation as you get ready? We're talking.
Hey, Uncle Sammy, how are you?
We're talking about Tish James pulling out of the governor's race.
Nope.
And running for AG. Now, Anthony says it's for a bigger picture of running for U.S. Senate. Which senator, though, Anthony? Schumer or Gillibrand?
Well, I think we're talking 2 to 4 years down the road. So I think that's yet to be determined. The only thing that's determined now is that she's planning on being there for the next 12 months in all New York City media with a hammer in her hand, banging Donald Trump every day.
All right. Well, obviously, Sammy's still looking for something. So
No, I can't hear. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Sammy. Can you hear us? All right, little technical difficulties.
He has to put the headset on. Like I was saying, Gillibrand, Kirsten Gillibrand. As Ruben Diaz Sr. said, Kirsten Gillibrand.
Be a little, well, okay. Let's move on to something else that came up this week. As a matter of fact, yesterday, non-citizens are being given the voting rights in New York City. Dion, why don't you tell us what you know about what happened with this non-citizen voting?
Well, hopefully this will lead up to Sammy's comments because I know he has some strong feelings. But I found it very interesting, despite the African American communities, or my opinion of it, that a lot of immigrant communities, diverse immigrant communities, many countries are upset with it because, unfortunately, looks like Donald Trump was right that when you do come in illegally, there is a dark underbelly of the Star Wars term smugglers and prostitution, because coming in illegal is in that black element of the market. And so a lot of people believe it's not fair that they had to work so hard to become citizens, and the right to vote was such the goal line to them becoming a citizen. They believe the bar has been set very low and it's very disrespectful. So it looks like it was immigrants against immigrants on this one.
You're right. You're right, Dion. Before we go to Anthony, you're right, because now it's only a 30-day waiting period. So anybody can come from a foreign country a month early, come in, vote in our city elections, and then go back to their country. Anthony, any comments?
I have several. Probably too many and too long for this show. What I would say is two things. Number one, as a person that's been born and raised in New York, coming from families that are immigrants, I know that both my mother and my father had to take a citizenship test to be here. And then, of course, there were other requirements besides that. I don't understand what was wrong with that policy 40, 50 years ago. I don't understand what's wrong with that policy today. My bigger question when it was pronounced and approved was, well, what is it going to mean to voting, right? Because that's really what this is all about. It's all about voting. And I found it to be both very dangerous and very irrelevant. I just did a story on it that if you took the ranked choice voting, what I call the blue wave multi-candidate factors, these are two factors that were not in our politics 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they're very important factors, because if you took those factors out, this bill has the potential of a 15% increase mm-hmm. on a one-on-one or three-way race. That is very significant in New York politics, considering that 11 to 15% of the population, New York population, actually vote. But because of ranked choice voting and what I call the multi-candidate blue wave process, that 15% will now probably get chopped down to 2 to 3%. So it will basically be very irrelevant, except for races that will have that margin of error.
Well, I would like to add to that for the 2022 redistricting races. So far, the immigrants that are furious at this policy are also the same immigrants that are furious with the mandates and some other high gas prices. So I believe potentially the governor's office, now that I said it before, Tish James out of the equation and Hochul's there, I think that's going to go red amongst other amenities, because a lot of people are furious with these issues, and statewide, they're totally against immigrant voting.
Now, my question is, how can we gauge how many immigrants are voting? We can't, because that would be then, picking on them and saying, oh, well, we want to know how many. That's illegal, supposedly, under the Voter Rights Act. You can't do that. So how, it's a catch-22. Okay, up to 800,000.
Not really, Robert. What I did in my most recent article on this, which mm-hmm. you can find at the New York Parrot, is I used the same numbers for Americans, right? Because Americans vote based on their interest. So at the end of the day, nationality does have something to do with it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, people are voting on their interest.
Right.
And it shows citywide that the interest for voting here in New York varies district to district, but about 15%. So that was the number I used, presuming we won't know these real numbers for at least another 4 to 5, 6 years.
Right. You are correct, but we still don't know how many of these immigrants will be voting, because there'll be no way of tracking them. And
well, this is why I also said in the article what makes it potentially dangerous, but also allows for people like Dion to get more work, is that there will be consultants that will say, oh, I can control that population, and therefore, it's going to get you to win. It'll get you over the top. So
Right.
hire me because I can get that 3-4%, which of course will be inflated in conversation to 10-15%. That will get you over the top. So congratulations, Dion. We might have more work.
Yeah, but
You said I would have more work. What's this we now? Is if I would
Oh,
have
well, sir, yours is more overt. Mine is more in 10s and 20s.
okay, guys, let me get a word in. Okay, what I'm thinking is, and you know this, Anthony, from 10 years ago when we changed county leaders, what happened? There were people bust into that theater to vote for a certain former county leader. Okay, and that's what you could have here, because who is yelling to give these people the right to vote? It's your current city council members. They're the one who voted. So they're the ones who are going to bring by busload these people to vote. And who are they going to vote for them? Okay. I see we have Mr. Ravello back with us. Can you hear us, Sammy?
Yeah, I can hear you guys now. Can you guys hear me?
We're
Good
talking
morning,
about
Uncle Sammy.
we're talking about the recent passage of the city council of the immigrant vote, of the non-citizen voting. Would you like to say a few words on that?
Well, funny that you say that. That was actually I have a post on Facebook expressing my opinion on that. As a former immigrant myself, or I am an immigrant. I'm sorry, former green card holder. I am completely opposed to this measure. First of all, let's put things in perspective. You know, immigrants that are U.S. citizens right now vote at a very low percentage. I think Anthony Rivieccio mentioned 4%. I think that's the voting population right now of immigrants that are U.S. citizens that actually go out and vote. It's around 4%. All right. I think we should have been concentrating on getting those folks that are actually U.S. citizens that we registered to vote to actually come out and vote in the polls, because we all know that around 8% of the population are the people deciding our elections. You know, as a former candidate myself, I can tell you, we have a very, very low turnout. Getting folks that are immigrants right now that don't have a green card, in my opinion, does a disservice to this population. All right, where is the incentive to come out and vote? And you notice something that they're not emphasizing, that they can only vote in local elections. They cannot vote for presidential elections. So there's going to be room for a lot of confusion, and a lot of folks are going to be right now they don't really know. So I'm hoping. This is city hall going amok. You know, right now we have a rise in crime, we have housing issues, we have education issues. Yet, you know, they're concentrating on letting immigrants that have been here. You can be here as long as 30 days, and now you can vote for the next municipal election. So I personally have a problem with that.
Okay. Also, Sammy, we spoke about Kathy Hochul's mask mandate as of today in public, and we spoke about Letitia James pulling out of the governor's race to rerun for Attorney General. Any comments on those two items, Sammy?
Well, I'm glad Letitia James came to her senses, because what happens is that she, even though it really didn't come from her. So I'm not an anti-Letitia James. I want to make sure that anybody that's watching this knows this. I actually like Letitia, but I don't think it was the right time for her to run right now. Being the middle of, or her face is the person that we look at when, you know, we removed Cuomo as governor. So we don't want to make it cannot be seen as you go after someone and then now you go after her seat. So I'm glad, you know, she is not running at this time. Not that she's not qualified to run.
And what about the mask mandate by the governor? Or did you freeze up on us? Okay, it looks like Sammy froze up for a moment. Let's move on. Anthony, there was an article in, you're back with us, Sammy? Nope, he's still frozen. Okay, let's move on, Anthony. Anthony, there was an article in the Riverdale Press that you put on your Facebook page, Northwest Bronx Democrats, about 3,000 turkeys being given out over Thanksgiving to the elected officials. Now, what was that story about?
Well, I'm not the author of the story. The author of the story is Mr. Michael Hinman, the editor-in-chief of the Riverdale Press. He wrote that Mark Stagg, or he basically wrote that all of the holiday events that were taking place that were turkey related, it was more towards Thanksgiving, were being given out by the Mark Stagg group. Mark Stagg took the liberty of going from district to district, meeting the elected officials, handing out turkeys, took pictures with the elected officials. The theory was to hand them out to the elected officials at the events and activities, and by giving it to them, it would subsequently trickle down to the community. I don't think the Riverdale Press made any direct suggestion of corruption. So let me put that out there. I don't think the Riverdale Press made any suggestion, but the article did imply that 1 + 1 = 2.
Right. There were 3,000 turkeys, I believe they said, right?
I don't know the exact amount, although based on pictures that I've seen and people I've spoken to and events I've seen, I think 3,000 is a much lower number.
Well, I was at the Huntington Library at one of the events where Mark Stagg was, and Senator Biaggi was there, and Mark Stagg was proud to be giving out turkeys to the community. He also mentioned his homeless shelter in Riverdale on Broadway, on how well that shelter is doing. But he has other shelters in Board 7 and Board 12 that aren't doing so well, aren't they? Are they? As a matter of fact, another thing Mark Stagg said to me, do I know of any properties? He's looking to buy properties on the east side, because it seems the east side has now become the new west side, where there's a building on every block by you, right, Anthony? And as a matter of fact,
well, you're right. You're right in what you're saying. Mark Stagg is now concentrating his efforts to the east side, aka the turkeys.
Right, and I know that, and if our producer would put up that last picture I have with a certain person circled, that person was delivering turkeys. And his reward was to stand on stage at the Community Board 7 annual Christmas festival.
Robert, let's take a couple of steps back, because I don't think the audience can appreciate the story you're going to state without taking a few steps back.
Go ahead.
Before this took place, and the person being circled there, I believe, is Mr. Remy Salas, candidate, male district leader candidate for the 18th Assembly District.
Right.
I believe that your recent organization, of which you've been uplifted, congratulations, Pelham Parkway Neighborhood Association, also had a Thanksgiving event and also had these Mark Stagg turkeys.
No, we bought our own.
That trickled down to your group, where individuals, including yourself, I've seen a picture of you with the same turkey, handing it out. But my question is this: how many turkeys do you believe Remy Salas brought to that event? Because the way I understand it, Mark Stagg didn't bring them. Remy Salas brought them, but of course Remy could have got them from Mark. But my question is, how many do you believe were there?
He brought 5 boxes, which were 20 turkeys, Anthony. Okay.
So if he brought 100 turkeys,
he brought 20.
A local community organization.
And wait a minute, Anthony, they were for Assemblywoman Natalia Fernandez. That was 20 turkeys that she was giving out. The Pelham Parkway Neighborhood Association.
If Mark Stagg brought 100 turkeys to a local community organization, how many do you think he brought Bronx-wide?
Oh, I'm sure, because she had many events, the Assemblywoman Fernandez, Senator Biaggi had, all the elected officials.
So then you agree then that 3,000 is actually an under number, right? He could actually be
that's what the Riverdale Press stated.
All right, gentlemen.
Wait a minute. There's more to this story, okay? I must say that I have announced that I want to run for male district leader in the 80th Assembly.
Okay, now this is what it's back to you. Okay,
this is not a story of me against my opponent.
This is the story. Okay, I got it.
It's just what you see here in the picture is the Community Board 7 Christmas celebration. And Anthony will tell you also that this has been run by the board members. This year, it was run by Aisha Bravo, who is the district manager, who is rumored to be the female district candidate, district leader candidate with Mr. Salas on Assemblywoman Fernandez's petition, and Anthony can say yes to do that, to that effect. Now, Mr. Salas was called up by the woman in the white coat standing next to him, who is the female state committee woman. Now, Irene Estrada, who is the female district leader of the district, is in there somewhere. But normally in the past, and Anthony will verify this too, state committee man Joe McManus has spoken. But Aisha Bravo would not let district leader or the district leader Irene Estrada or state committee woman, what's her name, Sandra Pabon speak. And there should be no reason why a person who is not a community board 7 member or an elected official should be up there. And speaking is Frederick Klein, who works for Assemblyman Dinowitz, who couldn't make it because he was at a function of the Ben Franklin Club. And next to him is Eric Dinowitz. Obviously, those, they were the only ones who know that this was pushed up, by the way, too, because Assemblywoman Fernandez came after this. All right. And what was it? Councilman Oswald Felice came after the event. All right. And he says, I didn't know they moved it up. All right. So, I mean, this is politics in the community board. And I made a complaint to Tom Lucania of the borough president's office. I know they only have 3 weeks left, but they can do something about this. I suggested they suspend.
Wait. I got two.
I suggested, hold it, Dion. Dion, I have the floor, Dion.
Oh, really?
I suggested to Mr. Lucania that they either fire or suspend district manager Aisha Bravo for this political stunt. Now you can talk.
Thanks a lot, man. All right, let's go here. I got 2 points that's going to segue to Sammy because he's the guest, okay? Number one, if the producer could kindly share the picture of the Trump Links golf course with Donald Trump and some other people there that they're going to try to change it to a shelter, right? And so I'll segue to Sam to comment on turning this golf course into a shelter and how great it is. And then after that, let's circle back to the county committee that happened earlier in the week. Go ahead, Sammy. What do you feel about the shelter and Donald Trump? And let's share that picture.
Well, let me see this picture, but you mean a shelter in Donald Trump links?
Yes, they're trying to turn into a shelter. Tell us how great that'll be.
Again, I've been on record saying that the Bronx should not build any more shelters. I believe it's Robert Press that has the numbers. The Bronx has 36% of the population, 37% of the shelter population of the total population, shelter population in the city, and we are only 18% of the population. So my thing is that I'm not in favor of any more shelters being built. If some folks, just because they want to poke an eye on Donald Trump and feel as if I am going to be in favor of this, they're mistaken. I don't want any more shelters coming to the Bronx, period.
Can you see my screen, Jets? Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
No.
Well, let's talk about the shelters. As Sammy mentioned, Community Board 11, which is Morris Park, where Sammy and I live. Okay, and I'm proud that Sammy is one of my neighbors. That we have 3 proposed homeless shelters coming next year in 2022, all single adult men. There's one on Blondell Avenue for 200 single adult men, one on Pompton Street for 200 single adult men, and now an old pool hall is going to be converted on White Plains Road for 140 single adult men. The total population of homelessness that Community Board 11 is responsible for is under 800. And Department of Homeless Services had a policy of no more than 25% of a board's responsibility be single adult men. So I don't know how de Blasio was going to push 65% of the homeless single men into the Community Board 11. All right. I'm sure on Pompton Street, if they said they would put a family shelter there would be very little opposition to a family shelter rather than single adult men. It's just that, unfortunately, Bill de Blasio, when I asked him one day, how come you have so many single adult homeless men? He says, well, we have a problem now that the no cash bail law is in. It seems that these men used to be in jail and couldn't raise bail, but now they're out on the streets. And you have repeat offenders. Sammy, as a matter of fact, Sammy's an ex-police officer. So, Sammy, why don't you talk a little bit about no cash bail and what it's done? putting criminals back out on the street that shouldn't be.
And then talk about this picture.
Well, first, no cash bail. I've been very vocal. For those of you that didn't know, I ran on Bronx for Bronx Borough President, and one of my main issues was no cash bail. I've been very vocal ever since it started. What we're having right now is 79% recidivism among the folks that are arrested and are let back out on the street. These folks are committing crimes. I know that a lot of elected officials are going out and saying that cash bail is working. I don't know where they're getting their numbers. When I ask where, what report, what study can they, cite for me to, learn, they can't provide one. So it's been disastrous. And the people that are suffering, believe it or not, are the people that they allegedly are the ones that are there to protect, which are folks that look like me. We're the victims. So I've been very opposed to cash bail. Everybody knows that. What was the other question, Robert?
You see the City Hall picture where Idanis Rodriguez celebrating that we just passed the laws that immigrants can vote.
Well, I believe, I don't know if you guys heard me the first time. I am opposed to it as an immigrant myself. That actually waited.
Sammy,
yes,
Sammy, we did hear you. That was just a repeat question. I don't know why it was asked, but let me ask you a very important question since we got you on the air. And I want to say I'm glad we do got you on the air, and you look wonderful.
Thank you.
I guess my jaw-breaking question is this. You and Robert live in the 80th Assembly District. As a person that's lived in the 80th Assembly District for 4 decades, I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned because the 80th Assembly tree, as I like to call it, is broken, right? We have a state assembly person that don't talk to their district leaders. The district leaders don't talk to their state committee people. The state committee people don't talk to the assembly person. So we have leaders that aren't speaking to each other. There's been discussions in the 80th Assembly District about putting out a new movement, because the old tree is now broken. Your name has come up in these discussions. You and I haven't spoken about it in detail, but since we got you on the phone, I'd like to know your thoughts about it.
Well, the 80th, it really needs an overhaul. That goes without saying. And for the same reasons, whether are the folks that are there now that are supposed to be our leaders or new blood. Me personally, I have not decided what I'm going to be doing. Obviously, I support anyone that's going to be in favor of moving the 80th forward. It is very important, and I believe Robert hit it right in the nose. And you just said it as well. It's broken. I happen to be a very good friend of Irina Strada. She is the current female district leader, and whoever emerges as our next assembly person and our next district leaders, I believe they all have to be working hand in hand for what's best in the community.
Well, are you planning on being involved in that process?
I will be announcing in the next couple of weeks. I'll be announcing what my steps are going to be.
Well,
thank you, Sammy.
One thing is that Assemblywoman Fernandez has a fundraiser tonight, but it's not in the district. It's all the way down in the South Bronx.
Thank you.
And it's funny. I believe it's in Councilman Salamanca's district, and he has a function next week up here in the 80th Assembly District at Maestro's. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on. She's going down to his district for to have an event, and he's coming up here into the 80th to have an event. I mean, something's not right there. She should stay in her own district to have an event.
Tell us what happened at the council committee meeting.
Let me say this real quick about that, because privately we spoke about this, Robert. I'm disappointed, that Assemblywoman Fernandez decided to go outside the district and to do her fundraiser. I'm looking forward to speaking with her about this because it's a little bizarre. As far as Salamanca, Salamanca obviously he has visions of higher office, or something. He wants to expand his exposure. So I can see him doing that. But Natalia Fernandez, she's newly elected, and I was, like I said, a little disappointed that she decided to go outside the district.
Dion, any comments?
Well, I would like to comment about how several, if not most, of the candidates that won their elections, municipal elections, didn't show up at the county committee meeting that I found out about as a county committee person 2 hours before the meeting, where everybody's microphone cut off. And Robert Press, you're supposed to be the super sleuth. How come you didn't know about the county committee meeting and what happened at the county committee meeting?
I'm not a county committee member. So, Dion, why don't you tell us what happened at that meeting? I heard that it was to introduce the new city council members and the new state assemblywoman. What else was on the agenda? Did they do anything about the rules committee? I mean, Michael Belzer was so proud that he had this meeting called that they had to have a meeting every year instead of every 2 years.
They might say seltzer like Belzer. Here, we got some seltzer here for you, Regulio. What happened was that most of these candidates didn't even show up at this.
I heard that.
The new Assemblywoman-elect Delka Tapia, she spoke. Jamal Bailey, called for unity and democracy. Michael Belzer was allowed to speak. No one else's microphone would be able to speak, which is against Robert's rules. And they voted to forego the reading of minutes and the agenda out the window. The meeting was less than 25 minutes, if I were counting, and that was it. But what they did say was interesting. They threw the ball to Eric Henry with the rules committee. So Michael Belzer brought up the rules. Jamal Berry tossed it to Eric Henry, and so now everybody has to go to Eric Henry to talk about the rules committee, and that's what I did.
Well, wait a minute, though, Dion. Did Jamal say that he knows what the bylaws state? Because when I wanted Marco Sierra expelled from the from being a district leader for breaking 2 New York State election laws last year, he said, well, the word that I got was, well, we haven't looked at the bylaws yet, so we don't know what we can do. Did they say that they know what they can do, that they've read the bylaws yet of the Bronx Democratic Party?
Well, LaToya Journer, who was the host and moderator of the whole show,
wonderful person,
and parliamentarian, they encourage, participating in the rules committee. So that's all I can speak to about that.
Dion, gentlemen, please let's call a spade, okay? Basically, Dion, what you've just reported on is a last-minute meeting was called to do nothing. And the fact that they couldn't get a quorum proved it. They called the meeting to do nothing. So who was the biggest benefactor of that?
Nobody.
No, that's not true.
Or Jamal Bailey.
That's not correct. Correct, because now Jamal can say he has held an annual public meeting, which was Belzer's biggest argument.
So who was the biggest loser then? Michael Belzer.
The biggest loser, sadly, would have to be the people of the Bronx, because there was an official meeting held, albeit last second, last minute, nothing on the agenda.
Actually, no, that's not true. There was stuff on the agenda, but at the beginning, they voted to forego all that and go to just the public portion when they were speaking. So
at that meeting, there was no agenda. There was an agenda that was in a race.
There was an agenda, but they didn't follow Robert's.
There was an agenda that was a race. Therefore, there was no agenda. Learn logic.
That's right, Dion. Exactly.
Well, you guys weren't there.
I mean, they should have been looking at the primary and getting set. And did they? By the way, Dion, was there any mention of redistricting at this meeting?
No, as I recall.
Gee, one would think that at the Bronx Democratic Party county committee meeting, one would talk about redistricting since it's coming up next year and the following year. All right. Or maybe Jamal wants to keep that a secret, the county leader, State Senator Jamal Bailey, on what they're doing with district lines, because the second set is out already. And we know that the Senate and the Assembly are going to reject the second set of independent redistricting lines. Any comments, guys? Anyone? Sammy, you want to talk about redistricting and what's happening with the independent redistricting committee?
Well, It's funny that there's a bunch of folks waiting to see what's going to happen with redistricting in order for them to decide, whether they're going to run or not. And I know that you can live anywhere right now, and you can run for anything. But some folks, they really want to run at the places that they live now. So, having said that, I believe it benefits the party in power to keep this going all the way as far down the road as possible. That eliminates some folks from running, and I'm not surprised. When one party rules everything, it really, really screws everything up. We think I think democracy is a lot better when we have a two-party system that serves as a check and balance to each other.
Well, I know 10 years ago when redistricting occurred, I was told that, we told the incumbents not to go into the fringe areas. And when I asked, when are the books going to be printed? Well, after the primary, we'll have the primary books. Okay. So, you tell me, that's how people were thrown off the ballot, because who is that expert lawyer down there, Anthony? Or Dion, who is that expert lawyer for county that knocks people off or keeps their own people on?
Steve Richmond.
No. He's a former Board of Elections employee. The lawyer is Stanley Schlein, who can win both sides of the argument.
Ezra Glazer, your friend Ezra Glazer, 101 disgruntled Democrats.
No. I've seen Stanley get someone thrown off by a technicality and then keep someone on by that same technicality. He is great, Stanley. He is one of the best. He is the lawyer to have, really. He knows his election law. And one referee even said to him during when he was doing a trial, the referee said, "I know you wrote the book on election law, but you don't have to tell me what I need to know."
What was the judge's name? What was the judge's name? Was the judge maybe?
I don't remember.
He doesn't remember.
We're coming towards the end of the show. We only have about 10 minutes left. One more topic we really have to talk about, and you were down at the UFT during a rally. What was it, yesterday, Dion? We have a new chancellor, Miss whatever her name is, because we didn't get to know her that long, so I don't even really know her name anymore. But we have a new chancellor coming in under the new mayor, David Banks. Would either of you two non-parents like to talk about that? Or you, Sammy?
Well, there has to be a commitment to getting doing the work for the students and not necessarily the teachers and the principals and all these other unions. The chancellor has to do because it's impossible, or it should shame us that we spend more money per child, and I'm talking into the thousands. I think the numbers are around $27,000 per child in New York City. All right, yet we're not getting the bang for the buck, as opposed to charter schools. I remember sending my kid to Catholic school, and I did not have to pay as much per child. So we're getting ripped off, in the folks in New York City, and so are our children. So I'm hoping that they start moving in the right direction, and until there's a commitment to fix this problem, I don't think there's going to be any change.
Well, I don't know if anybody is aware, but David Banks has announced within the last 24 hours that he plans on reinstituting the gifted and talented program. Mm-hmm. I don't know much about Mr. David Banks, except that statement alone, in my opinion, shows that I hope we're going to have a much fairer and balanced chancellor.
I'm sorry, Anthony. All due respect, that's just a drop in the bucket.
You're absolutely right. It is. No, I didn't say it was the end all be all, Sammy. You're absolutely right. But it's a start.
Right.
Now, Anthony, I'm going to tell you this. My child went to PS24. They had an honors program. There was no gifted and talented program. It was an honors program. When Oliver Coppell brought in the gifted and talented program, the school went down. It went from one of the top 20 schools, and it's now ranked, I believe, 150 something out of all the schools. All right, so that gifted and talented program did not improve the school. It just brought the school down. Okay, gifted and talented.
I think there's a lot of other schools, Robert, most notably schools like Bronx High School of Science, that might disagree with you.
They don't have a gifted and talented program. You take
Not anymore.
There's one test to get in there, and New York City, no mayor can change that because that's a state law. It has that, Stuyvesant and Brooklyn Tech. You take one test to get in there.
Let me add something to the press, but don't forget that this guy also talked about eliminating a lot of bureaucracy at the Department of Education. But the problem is this: I haven't heard anything about mandates yet, which a lot of parents are furious about. That also trickles down to the private school. So that's why I believe next year things are going to go more red.
Well, Dion, not being a parent, you don't know about the unfunded mandates that schools have to do, like school leadership teams and other things. Okay, those are unfunded mandates and mandates that come down from the state. Yeah, go ahead, put up your seltzer, right? You're not a parent, so you can't talk about the schools, Dion. When you become a parent and your child goes to school, you can tell. I've been up to the Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council when Mayor Bloomberg brought in a prosecutor to be the chancellor. Okay, this man knew nothing about education. Okay, I'm glad that David Banks does, and I'm glad he's coming from the charter schools, because charter schools have come up because the New York City Education Department can't do their job. Okay, the Bronx public schools are performing, this is pre-COVID, at 67% level, that student performance, while the other four boroughs are well above 80% on performance level. That's okay. Right. I'm not saying anything bad about Ms. Porter, who was the Bronx superintendent, who then became the chancellor. But you know what the problem is? It's mayoral control. One man controlling everything. One man who appoints the chancellor. There is no accountability. We need to get rid of mayoral control. Mike Bloomberg bought the state Senate to get mayoral control. That has to be gotten rid of. Any comments from you guys are welcome.
No, you said it. You said it very eloquently. You know, I mean, it's one person not understanding probably the plight of everybody else. It is not going to cut it.
I think what we need, gentlemen, are just some sound policies. All this rigmarole about one person controlling it. Let's talk about Albany, right? They call it 3 people in a room. Now it may not be 3 men, but at least we know it's at least 3 people, right? So it doesn't matter whether it's 1 or 3. What we need are sound policies.
Well, I still think that mandates are going to be. I'm not a angry short parent, but I know mandates are on top of the agenda. Okay.
Well, I'm going to answer Anthony by saying that the state holds 99% of the power. Okay, and we still don't know if this law that was passed by the city council to allow non-registered citizens, non-registered people to vote will pass. It is going to court. We know that. All right. Yeah. But the power is in Albany, and it's Albany, the assembly members and the state senators, who are ruining New York City with all these new mandates and new laws. Okay, and again, no cash bail is the first and biggest one that is ruining New York City, among other things.
Just let me say something about, you know, I know a lot of folks, and I've been on record as saying that I opposed this law of immigrants voting. You know, I really like the incentive of becoming a U.S. citizen and becoming, you know, and I have family members right now that are, you know, waiting to get their, you know, their chance to apply for citizenship just to vote. There's got to be that incentive, but I don't think it's going to be something that's going to change elections. You know, we are having issues right now with regular immigrants that are U.S. citizens coming out and voting. I don't think adding a pool of 800,000. I don't think you're really going to be making a huge difference. But we need to make sure that the folks that are eligible that became citizens, that are eligible, that actually registered to vote, to actually come out and vote. Because as you know, elections are really decided by only a few.
Well, Sammy, we once had ranked choice voting where you didn't have to be a citizen to vote. They were called school board elections.
The school board election.
Okay.
I remember.
And
that.
as a person who ran for school board, I got 10. What happened was in each different election district, and there could be up to 100 election districts in an assembly district, the name on top was rotated. That's why you saw certain elections come out this year. All right. And I am going to tell you, if this was the way it was with school boards and rotated by election district, I'm going to tell you that Aisha Bravo would have been the councilwoman and not Oswald Felice, because she would have had an equal number of chances on the top of the ballot. And then there's
Dion,
the other thing.
Wait a minute, I have to tell Dion. This is where you and I have to tell both Mr. Press as well as candidate Sammy that they have to hire people like us to explain these things to them.
The other thing that needs to be changed, Anthony, is when they draw the balls out of the that bingo thing.
Positioning, Bob, has nothing to do with it.
The guy brings the ball up.
Positioning brings in a 1 to 2% probability at best.
Anthony, if you look at the tape, the ball is brought up and the guy is looking down at a piece of paper and calling. He's here. He pulls the ball out and he's looking down. Oh, number 17, and then puts the ball down. But we need a camera like we have in Lotto to go on the ball.
You haven't heard. Robert, maybe you haven't heard. It was announced several months ago. Jeopardy is fixed.
Jeopardy?
Yes. So if Jeopardy is fixed, what makes you think Lotto isn't fixed? If you don't think Lotto ain't fixed, what are you telling me about a ball for?
Anthony, the original Lotto was fixed because if you put the balls the same way,
I don't care why. The fact is that it happened. I don't care why it happened.
Dion, show some professionalism.
Means it could happen again. You talk about ranked choice voting. Let's talk about 150,000 votes that went into the system before the vote even started.
Right. I agree with you.
Now you're going to talk to me about something fair?
See, Sammy, you could have been the next borough president with 150,000 votes.
Well, I had to convince. I had to do a lot.
Sammy's problem is that he doesn't know how to put together an all-star team. But hopefully, Sammy still has my number, and he'll be able to rectify that in the future.
Of course, man. Come knock on these doors.
Anthony, I'll have you in mind next time I decide to run.
Well, sir, if we're talking the 18th Assembly District, I suggest we talk soon because unlike Mr. Powell and unlike Mr. Press, I have been a long-term resident here and an electoral person for the last 4 decades.
Well, then let's come to the Conservative Party holiday party this Sunday, 2:00, 943 Morris Park Avenue. Let's say,
sir, you're not telling me about anything I haven't been at for the last 15 years. We're almost at the end of the show, so let's say our goodbyes. And I do intend on being there.
Let's say our goodbyes because we have about a minute left. All right, so I'm just going to say thank you for viewing. And you can just go to my blog, www.100%bronx.blogspot.com. That's 100, then all letters. And you will see all my stories that come up, all the events that I visit. And as a matter of fact, Dion and Sammy, we have an event in Morris Park at 3 p.m., I believe. The bid is having their Santa come by. So I expect to be there, and I hopefully will see both of you there.
And please try to leave your blue balls at home, okay?
Anthony, any final words? You want to plug yourself?
Let me wish everybody a happy weekend. Sammy, it's nice to see you.
Thank you.
Everyone just be safe and take care.
Yeah, before I go, I want to wish all three of you, Dion, Anthony, Robert, thank you for having me. I want to wish you guys a happy holidays, and I hope you enjoy this unique holiday season that we have this year. Thank you for having me.
And I too want to wish you, well, we'll be back on next week, so we don't have to wish the holidays, guys. All right.
My only warning this holiday season is don't mix salsa with eggnog, okay? Belta, salsa.
All right, Mr. Producer, are we finished with the show? It's
wait a minute, I want to make a request. Oh my God.
Seltzer. Blue balls.
Seltzer. Where's that seltzer?
Look at these blue balls. They drop down. My blue balls drop down.
Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.